Well, good afternoon and welcome everyone to this online seminar organized by work of the European Human Resources Research seal, with the aim of disseminating and spreading various aspects related to research, ranging from human resources management to the training of researchers in different subjects. This is the third meeting of this cycle, and the aim is to show an example of good practice in the implementation of the seal in a research center with similar characteristics to the CIMNE, such as it is integrated with the CERCA network and has a significant number of researchers. This center is the August P. Sunger Biomedical Research Institute, EVAPs, and our guest today is its head of institutional actions, Gemma Pascual. In addition, we also have the presence of the director of CIMNE, who will speak first. He will remind us of the status of the implementation of the European Human Resources in Research seal and the importance of involving the staff of the center in these final stages of the process, along with other things, by participating in the survey that we will launch at the end of this seminar. Your answers are very important for the final report of the seal that the CIMNE has to send to the European Commission in the coming weeks. This seminar is going to last about 1 hour, and at the end we will have a question and answer session. If you want to ask anything about the presentations, to do so, we will encourage you to send our questions through the chat or ask for the floor so that we can open you the microphone. So now we give the floor to Javier, who is first today. Is the General Director of CIMNE. Go ahead, Javier, whenever you want.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Luis. Let me first of all see if I can share my screen with the little presentation that I have. Can you let me know if you're seeing my?
It works, Javier. You can open it. Yes.
I'm trying to click on. There we are.
Okay, perfect.
On the presentation mode. Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I don't know whether everybody knows me, but I'm Javier Valet. I keep saying the new director of CIMNE, but I've been in CIMNE now nearly for a year. So I think after the first year in CIMNE, I probably won't be able to say the new director. I'll be the director of CIMNE, but obviously after 35 years of Eugenio Oñate being the director, still feels a little bit new to be the director of CIMNE. So welcome everybody, and it's a real pleasure to give this brief presentation about this HRS4R, which sounds like a very complex acronym, and we sort of try to break it down for you. It's Human Resources Strategy for Researchers. This is particularly important for research centers like CIMNE. If you think of what a research center does, our product really is people. What we do is we attract people to work with us, and we develop them, we educate them, we train them, we give them skills, we develop them and make them into better academics, into better researchers. And often they move on from the research center. Some stay, some move on to universities, some move on to industries, and so on. So our product, if you want to put it this way, really is people. It's you, is the people that make things. And all our successes are the result of the success in us recruiting and training and developing our researchers. So this type of initiative, this is a European initiative. It's been going for quite a while now, and it's particularly important. And let me just show you some of the components of this initiative. There is a formal charter that all institutions that want to be funded through the EU and Europe need to adhere to. So there's a charter for researchers with quite a number of principles and a code of conduct. I'll show you some of this in a minute. The initiative comes from Europe. It applies to the conduct of research across the entire, typically the continent, obviously mostly the EU or anybody that wants to attract resources from the EU research programs. So there is a charter, there is a code of conduct, and this OTM sounds again like a very strange acronym, but is a particularly important part of this charter, which is the open and transparent and merit-based recruitment of researchers into universities and research centers like ours. This is all about being fair to you, being fair to the researchers in the way in which we recruit our researchers and the way in which we promote internally our researchers, we train them and we develop them. Now, it's particularly important, there is a formal legal base for a lot of these activities and initiatives, and part of any grant agreement which funds some research from Europe into a research center, a center like ours, implies that you have to commit to adhering to this set of codes, charter, and the principles of fair recruitment and transparency and fairness to the research community. And it is, we do it not only because it's part of the grant agreement, but also because it is in fact good for us. As I say, you are the reason why we are successful, and it is critical that we are as fair and transparent in developing and attracting our research. And that's why this is a particularly important initiative, one that CIMNE started quite a while ago. You see in this very busy slide all of the critical principles of the practice that are involved in this initiative. HRS4R. It's a bit of a mouthful. I wish they had come up with a simpler acronym, but it is something that is widely known and widely regarded across Europe. So it's important that we familiarize ourselves. You can see in these boxes all the important things, the ethical dimension, the important things to us all as researchers, like research freedom, ethical principles, the professional behavior that we expect both by senior and junior people, the attitude of mutual respect and mutual support, the legal obligations in which all of us embark when carrying out research, the accountability for our action, good practice in research, dissemination of results, the publications, the public engagement, and importantly, at the core of all of this, of course, the absence of discrimination, being fair, open, and diverse, and having a diverse community. We need to make sure that the best people have access to research, regardless of where they come from and many of the characteristics. We need to make sure we have evaluation, operational systems. You can see the recruitment and selection is a particularly important part of this charter. Having fair, transparent, open processes that recognizes the variety of CVs and the variety of experiences and skills that people will have and how they will contribute. It is not good if a research center only has a very narrow type of person. We need to make sure that we welcome people with a variety of skills. Obviously, in our case, we're a numerical methods center. We need people that have skills, be it in mathematics, in numerical methods, in computing, in all the areas that are relevant to the activities that we carry out. And obviously, we need to have fair and transparent recognition, mobility. We need to recognize the different levels of seniority at different types of appointment. Working conditions and social security. We need to make sure that we have a conducive environment for carrying out the best possible research. Research is all about ideas. It's all about imagination. It's all about creativity. And you cannot be creative. You cannot be imaginative. You cannot do your best work if the environment in which you find yourself is not one where you feel comfortable, when you feel that it's a conducive environment for you to give your best and for you to develop your career. And that is something that we are very keen. We want to, in some respects, write on your success, because your success as part of a researcher in CIMNE is part of CIMNE's success. The success of this center is nothing more than the sum of the successes of every researcher in this center. And we are very, very conscious and aware of this, and we value this tremendously. We'd love to have a better gender balance in the research community in CIMNE, in the research center. We are in the engineering area field of research, and this is always difficult. Engineering, for whatever reasons, cultural reasons, have traditionally attracted more men than women, and this is something that we're fighting very hard to try to rebalance. But we really want to develop your career. We want to make sure that you have the proper intellectual property rights, that those are recognized when you create, you are the author of an invention, and we have an IP policy that does precisely that. We want to make sure that you have the rights of co-authorship when you continue to publications, and also that there are, if things go wrong, and occasionally in any human endeavor, things can occasionally go wrong. And there's a claims process and procedure which is published in our transparency portal. Okay. Training and development, as I was saying, is particularly important. We recruit many young researchers to do PhDs or young postdocs, and we want to make sure they come out of here, if at all, but they come out of here as much better academics, much better researchers, having published lots of papers, having developed new ideas, having created code, and so forth. And the supervision and the mentoring and all of those things, and the training that we give you, is particularly important. I think that we're very fortunate here in CIMNE. We have a very extensive set of conferences, very extensive set of seminars, very extensive set of winter and summer schools and coffee talks, and I think that is quite a rich variety of training opportunities for everybody that is part of the community at CIMNE. Now, the actual accreditation of this HRS4R, which I just trips at the tongue doing this. It has quite a number of phases. I think it's 5 phases or 6 phases, as it is shown in here. An initial one, which is to say that we want to be part of this, and we did that quite a while ago. We signed the charter in 2015, and the first thing that you do is you look at the commitments that the charter includes, the codes and the things that you need to do, and then you look where you are at that time in 2015. We did that in 2015, and we found that there were gaps. There were things that we were not doing like the charter expected us to do. So we analyzed that gap, and we created an action plan in order to remedy all and put right all of those things that we thought that we needed to improve. We did that, and we had an interim visit by the European Commission, which was 2 years into this process. We are now at the final phase of this, okay? And this is a very important phase where essentially the Commission will come and see whether we've actually addressed all the gaps that we identified back in 20, whenever it was, okay? And of course, a number of you may have been part of the initial gap analysis, because this started with a questionnaire that was sent to many of you. Of course, the research community comes and goes, and some of the people that were there will know with us, and some of you will be new to CIMNE, and we're probably thinking, what's all of this about? Because you were not part of CIMNE when this started. We understand that, but the community needs to see that we've been doing and taking these actions across this time frame. And now that we want to see that we have completed the task, or if there's anything outstanding that we are aware of, and we are working to remedy anything outstanding. And one of the things that they will do, or we will need to do, not they, actually we do the work, they'll just mark our coursework. So we are the ones doing the work in here. One of the things that they will do, or they will ask us to do, is a questionnaire of the current community of researchers. That might not be the same as we had 5 years ago, but it is very, very important that as many of you participate in this questionnaire, because it's a questionnaire that will give us the evidence to the community that we have moved forward from where we were 5 or 6 years ago, and that we are now closing those gaps. So this questionnaire is very, very important to us. Okay, it's critical that you try to answer it constructively, because we will base our report to the community, to the European Commission, on the basis of your answers. So please, can I encourage as many of you to participate and to complete this questionnaire. Okay, it will be distributed probably next week or soon by the HR services of CIMNE. It's particularly important for us to complete the phase of the recognition. Okay, and obviously beyond that, there's always a continuous improvement. In all my past experiences, they always find things that we can do better, and that's normal, and that's fine. And we'll strive to make sure that we continue with improvement process in whatever shortcomings that they might find. This is a particularly important quality mark that the Commission gives a research center like ours, and we want to make sure that we have this accreditation, because it's a particularly important accreditation to CIMNE, which receives a lot of its funding from the European Union in form of grants from them. So please keep this in mind. Now, we were looking at the previous questionnaire and the issues that our research community at the time was raising, and I appreciate that some of you may not have been part of that because it's not in at the time. But one of the things that people were sort of not critical, but finding things that we could do better were things like communication across the different people in CIMNE. We've tried to address this. Obviously, this seminar is part of this, but there's been other seminars. There's also been public engagement, like myself, when I took over in May. In June, I had an open forum with all the staff in CIMNE, where I tried to explain what my vision for CIMNE was. Then, if you remember, after the summer, some of you will have perhaps participated in the strategy planning process. One of the first things I wanted to do as part of the new director of CIMNE is create a new strategy plan for the next phase of development in CIMNE. And I gave a presentation, I think it was in September or October, and I invited everybody to give comments through an online tool. And we received lots of different comments. So communication is something that we'll continue to try to do as effectively as possible. I think CIMNE has moved a lot in terms of the recruitment processes that we have put in place, and I'm very comfortable and now fully compliant with the open transparency and merit expectations of this accreditation. And things have moved significantly in relation to this. There is a panel that looks at sits through the applications and the initial shortlisting, and everything is done openly, transparently, and that in the merit of those manufacturers. We avoid any type of discrimination. We still would like to have more applicants that are female. We would like to have the recruitment numbers, although things are improving at the junior levels. The percentage of female recruited into female researchers into CIMNE has been growing from low teens into now mid-20s in terms of percentages. So there's still a way to go, but in engineering, we are not out of line with other engineering research centers. That means to say that we do not want to improve. We do want to continue improving in terms of diversity. Doesn't mean to say that we discriminate. Certainly, do not do any form of discrimination, and we're very careful not to do that. But we would like greater gender diversity in our population. Outreach to the general public, and I think we were looking at the number of releases, public releases that CIMNE has done over the last 4 years. Proposal that we are putting together very recently, with 160 public dissemination releases in the last 4 years. So that's quite a significant rate every year. So quite a lot of release of information to the general public. I'm not talking about papers, I'm not talking about conferences, I'm talking about public releases. We do have a process of periodic performance assessment. The change of director has been late a little bit this year's launch, but we are just about to launch the annual assessment process. And I'm committed to completing this by the summer. So we are carrying this out regularly. We make recommendations. We've had typically recommendations that we should improve the quality of the supervision. And I think that we're making progress in this. And one of the key things, of course, for young researchers is mentoring or junior researchers are young. It's not a matter of age, but a matter of seniority in terms of experience and expertise. And the quality of mentoring is very important. And we strongly engage in the set of processes and also training. And I think I've been here a year. I've seen a huge number of training events, both technical training events through seminars, corporate talks, through all sorts of congresses and all sorts of activities, but also quite a lot of non-technical professional development events, things dealing with research integrity, with IP, with quite a variety of leadership and that kind of professional training events. I think it's important to realize that some of you will continue here and therefore you're more concerned with technical training. Some of you might not, and your aspirations might be more in terms of leadership or developing your professional career in a different way. And we're trying to make sure that all of that is properly covered. We've continually revised the salary scales, and also they are published in our transparency web pages, and our career structure is also published. The academic, the engineering, and the professional services career structures are all published and transparent in our transparency portal. And we do have a system of complaints. It is there, it's published, it's available in our web pages. We hope that it's not widely used, because we hope that there are not many complaints, but nothing is perfect, and it's useful that we have. So at the end of the action plan, at the end of the implementation phase of the action plan, we feel ourselves comfortable in terms of having achieved most of the goals that we set ourselves. Of course, the pudding will be in the eating when the commission come to inspect what we've done. And they will talk to you. Okay, they will base their answer on everything the paperwork that we will present. Carefully put together paperwork, but they will also use as evidence two things. One is a new questionnaire that we will ask you to complete, and this is very, very important. So I must ask all of our research community to engage in this questionnaire and participate in it constructively, because it is very important for us to demonstrate to the community that things have moved from the previous situation in 20, whatever it was. Well, we and they appreciate people might not be the same answering this questionnaires, and of course that's inevitable in a research center. But that questionnaire is very important. Okay, and also when they come sometime in September or October, whatever it is, they will want to talk to a number of them. Okay, and obviously ask a number of you, very small number of you, do that, we talk to the commission. Obviously, we'll talk to you first to make sure that you're comfortable in what expected from this. I don't feel threatened or uncomfortable if you're chosen. We will make sure that you have the answers ready when the commission comes to talk to you. You can see in this slide, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, but this contains some of the details of the actions that we have put in place during this period. It's useful for you to be aware of, but if I start going into the details in these slides, probably I will take far too much of the time that I have available. So essentially, this is what I wanted to highlight. I repeat how important this is for the research center. This is critical, even whether it's about the funding from the European Commission. We take this tremendously seriously. We take the principles underlying this. It's not just about getting the accreditation for the sake of getting the accreditation. Importantly, that it is also because we believe in the principles that underpin this accreditation. These are good principles for a research center like us, which is essentially based on the quality and the development of our research community. So I'll stop here, and I think I'll pass on. I'm not so sure who will be Gemma or back to you, but I'll stop sharing my slides. And I think it's Gemma or you.
It's me, Javier.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We take the floor again to introduce Gemma Pascual, Head of Institutional Actions in the August P. Sunyer Biomedical Research Institute. She holds a degree in biology from the Autonomous University of Barcelona and a postgraduate degree in management of the business aspects of science and technology. A degree shared between Pompeu Fabra and the University of Barcelona and the Autonomous University of Barcelona. She has more than 15 years of work experience in science management. Over the years, she has acquired an extensive experience in proposal writing and management of competitive projects for national and international funding agencies like the European Commission. She started working in EVAP in the Strategy Directorate as project manager, and then she was promoted to lead the internationalization unit, which became later the institutional actions department that she leads today. She is also in charge of promoting quality training in the institution, being responsible for the institution's own training program or training sessions, and also for coordinating the implementation of the Human Resources Strategy for Researchers Action Plan, and in the deployment of some of its action. So, Gemma, are you ready?
Yes, thank you.
I
will share. I will share my presentation. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, perfect. Thanks, Luis, for your introduction. Today, I'm going to explain you the Human Resources Strategy for Researchers at EVAP, at my research center. The presentation will have five sections. The first one is introducing a little bit about what is EVAP, who are we, and at which step we are now from the Human Resources Strategy for Researchers. Then I will explain you some good practices and some tips that we think it would be really useful for you now that you start this renewal phase, that it's challenging for all the research centers that are involved in this kind of process. Then I will highlight some tools that we think are important to success. In fact, Javier has already explained that you will be sent a questionnaire and another kind of tools, and we will try to explain why those tools have been really interesting for us. Then I will just explain a little bit what happened in our renewal phase, because it's true that there are some rules well established by the European Commission, but then what happened in our case is that that rules were slightly changed. And for example, our site visit was scheduled later than expected and happened several aspects that were really surprising for us. And maybe it could be useful for you to be ready. And finally, some brief conclusion just to close the session. Okay, let's start with EVAPs and its human resources strategy for researchers. First of all, let me introduce you who we are. EVAPs used to be a consortium that included the institutions that are shown below. That is the Catalan government, the Hospital Clinic of Barcelona, the Faculty of Medicine and Health Science of the University of Barcelona, and also Biomedical Research Institute of the CSIC. Since January of this year, we have changed our legal composition, and we are now a public foundation. What we have not changed is what we do. We do translational biomedical research. That this means that we try to translate the problems that the patients have at their bed at the hospital to the lab to try to find solutions, and the other way around. And for this reason, we think this sentence explains what we do, that where the medicine of tomorrow begins. We are part of the campus clinic, the clinic that is surrounded the Clinic Barcelona Hospital. But it's true that we are also a complex organization. Here in this image, you can see the different buildings or the different centers that are part of our campus. The SEC and SELEX building that are shown in red are from EVAP, where EVAP researchers are working. But then we have also the other institutions that I have mentioned you before. The hospital, the center of the CSIC, and the Faculty of Medicine and Health Science of the University of Barcelona. The story of the campus started when the Clinic Barcelona Hospital decided, in fact, the medical doctors of the center decided that they wanted to give part of their salary to promote research. And it was an historical commitment they took. Later on, the research activity grew, and it made that it was necessary to create the Clinic Foundation to manage this research, that it was made in 1989. And some years later, in 1996, it was when the activity has already grown, and it made necessary to create the research center that was EVAPs. Since this January, as I have told you before, these two institutions has merged, and we are now one single foundation to manage the research of the campus. Our research institution has nearly 100 research groups. It's a big research institution, and they are split in different areas of activity, all focused on biomedicine. And we have also one area, a transversal area. Our research community, it's really big. We are more than 2,000 people working at EVAPs. And in the photo in the right side of the slide, tries to show what makes us quite special. We have leading more than the half of our research groups, and some part of our staff that has this kind of profile, that are the clinician scientists. This means that we have people who are part of their time doing healthcare assistance and part of their time working in the lab. This makes us able to link the two parts, the patient demand with the solution at the lab. And now, just for your information, as you know, because in fact, Javier has already presented it, there are different phases of the human resources strategy for researchers. And we are now in the work renewal phase, but we have been renewed last May 2022. And therefore, we are still continuing working to go to the next renewal phase, or but we have the experience that maybe you are now preparing, and we will try to help you, giving some tips. Let's see if it's useful for you. Just for your information, the fact is that we started our process in 2014 at the initial phase. Then we have been implementing actions from 2015 to 2020, and then it was when we came to the renewal phase. We submitted the documentation in 2020, but no, 2021, sorry. And then it was in 2022 when we had our site visit. The fact is that the time between when we submitted the documentation until we had the site visit was nearly 1 year. It was longer than expected, and this the information that it will be given to you at the end of the presentation when I explain you which particularities we have faced in this process. Now I'm going to explain you the good practices along the process that we have identified or that we have tried to follow, just to see if some of them could be useful for you. First of all, it's important to take into account that there are 3 main issues that the strategy wants you to accomplish. The first one is that it is expected that the human resources strategy for researchers strategy is embedded within your own strategy, your own institute's strategy. Then it's important that you make all this process with the researchers and for the researchers. They should be really active, really implementing the actions and also benefiting from them. And finally, it's important to prove you have really made progress, you have achieved results, and that you have made it being ambitious, that you have tried really to improve. In our case, we had these 3 statements really clear when we prepare our renewal process, but it's true that we had a lot of questions. For us, it was important to answer, for example, do researchers know what we have made since 2015? Maybe some of them know it, but others will not know it. Are they happy with the results? Maybe we think there are very good actions, but maybe they don't think the same, or others, no? And we thought we had to be really creative to find solutions, to find the answers of these questions before we did the site visit. After discussing within the Institute different issues, we reached this conclusion that there is no magic formula. There is not a unique answer, but we think it's really important that you design your own strategy, your own way to present and to really find these answers. And of course, you can find the inspiration in practices made by others. But maybe some of the centers you can try to consult have not faced the same situations that you have faced. Then maybe you have to invent a new aspect to how to do the things. Then I will try to explain you which actions we have made to accomplish the 3 main issues of that the strategy expects you to accomplish. About the embedding of the human resources strategy for researchers to the Institute's strategy, what we made is introducing this aspect within our strategic plan. It is now identified as a priority for us because all the things we have in our strategic plan are priorities. Then if we introduce this aspect, is also priority. And this was really well seen by evaluators. Another thing is that when we have made several actions of the action plan, what we have made in most of the cases is trying to have the formal approval of the results by the direction board, other bodies, decision-making bodies we have in place, because it was a way that it would appear in the roadmap of the center, and it would mean that direction is really aware that all the things that we are accomplishing. And the third point that is really important is that that we had to involve direction in the site visit in the renewal phase, because otherwise it would be seen as they are not really involved. And for us was interesting that they would take part in the meeting, in the coordination meeting. And in our case, it was really necessary to update them all the work we have made since the beginning, because sometimes maybe they had the more recent information really clear, but the information that was quite far, maybe it was difficult for them to link it to this initiative. Then to show that the progress is made with and for the researchers, we have also used some tools. Always that has been possible, we have made actions involving researchers. Sometimes they have been responsible to helping us to implement the actions. In other occasions, they have been beneficiaries of the actions, but if that has been the case, we have asked them some feedback to know if they were happy or not about what we have made. In some cases, we have built some working groups to give advisory to us. And of course, the best way to prove you are really monitoring the process with the help of researchers is having your own working group to monitor the human resources strategy for researchers. Another thing that it has been already commented by Javier, but I think it's really important, is that communication is key. We have tried to make news to inform. We have finished an action, maybe send emails from the direction or from the communication office to explain that we have a new product or a new process. We have tried to put information in the website, and so on, so on. Give a lot of voice to the things we have made to be sure that some of the researchers, or nearly all, receive our information. Another thing we have found, it has been really interesting, is giving voice to the researchers or to the research community through the survey or through the questionnaire that maybe you have to launch very soon. What we have made is putting the most important actions that we have reached within the strategy and asking people who answer the survey about their opinion. It has been really interesting, not only for the process, that is a way that we prove we are asking to the researchers, but it is always a useful tool for you, because you may know what they think about the work that you have done. And of course, because it is mandatory, but it is also important for the process, you should involve researchers in the site visit. Because they will be interviewed by the evaluators. Then when you do so, it is really important to inform them, to prepare them for what they are doing to do, because you will not have a lot of voice in the process. The voice will be heard by the European Commission through them. Then they have to be aware about the important aspects and what has been thought or what has been made in the institution. Then the other aspect that I have mentioned before that is important is really demonstrate that you have achieved good results and your ambition. What have we made in this sense? Well, we have really been working to show the real progress along the time. For example, when we have made the coordination meeting within the site visit, we have really made a big effort to show which was the starting point of our work, what have we achieved during the implementation process, and which will be the future of these actions, because more of them are not finished when you have implemented them. For example, in some cases, in our case, we have created a training program, and then this training program moves to a permanent activity that we will be implementing. Then it's important for the auditor to see that you came, that maybe you had not any training program, and you will go to having a permanent activity. This really shows the progress. And it's important to explain that context, because if you don't do it really well, sometimes it could seem an action is a little action, but depending on your context or on your starting point, it is a real progress. Then we have been really working a lot to show if something was a new process or new product, or an updated process or an updated product, to outline if the change has been smaller or bigger. We have made also work to really show the results, because it's true that when you prepare the templates of the interim review that have to be submitted to the European Commission, they don't allow you put images, or you can only write. And it's true that sometimes there's some information that you can write it and it could be really well understood, but sometimes it's more necessary also to see what you have made, because if you see the photos or the images or maybe some graphs or whatever, it will be more easy to understand to the auditors. What we made in this sense is really put information in the website about all these things that could allow introduce the material that we could not explain through the templates. And again, although this is the same that I have mentioned before, it's really important, the communication, because if you launch a new activity, but no one of the researcher community is aware of that, they will not take part on it, and then what you are doing is useless. And then the question is, and what else do you have to take into account? For me, it's really important to have into account all these issues. For example, the policy issues. Some of them have been explained also by Javier. And for example, we have the European Charter Code. You have to remember what says the statement and see if you really go in the direction that it's expected. One really important issue to be highlighted and to be expected to have ready, it's having an open, transparent and merit-based recruitment policy. This kind of policy and all the actions that goes more about hiring better the staff are well evaluated and are part of the policy of this kind of action. Then it's important to give the importance the importance it deserves, to really show you have dedicated your efforts in improving that. Another aspect that is important is improving, show that you have improved in different areas. The Charter and Code is split in 4 sections, and they expect to see that you have improved aspects in each of these sections, and you have to really show these evidences. Do not forget to take into account what you received in the interim assessment that was made during the implementation phase, because in that moment, some evaluators gave to your institute some inputs that were important to take into account. If they suggested you to do something, please do not forget to address it before you go to the site visit, because it is an information that will be consulted by the experts this time. And if you have not done anything, you will be asked what happened. Here, there's also the fact that ensure you submit all the templates that they expect. This is said because I have seen you started your process in 2015. And maybe in your year, there were other kind of templates. But in our case, when we did the gap analysis in 2014, no templates, official templates from the process were available to fill in the gap analysis. This may make that now when we have to submit the documentation for the site visit, we had to fill in the gap analysis templates that were expected to be filled in that moment, because it didn't exist, but they wanted you to have it ready. And then we had to go really back on the time in 2015 when we were now in, in 2020, and it was difficult for us. Then if you have doubts about if you have to do something that was not required in the past, do not hesitate to ask to the Human Resources Strategy for Researchers team. And of course, it's maybe an idea that I have also presented before, but do not forget to prepare all in advance, because you need time. You need time to ask to the researchers. You need time to prepare people for the site visit, for arranging the agenda of the meeting. All these aspects are really relevant and are really, time is really necessary in this kind of process. And what about the tools to success? I want just to give you three messages that I think are really key or can be useful in your case. The website is a really nice tool for you, because it's true that the evaluators will check the templates you submit and will check a lot of documents you submit. But then if you have additional information or other aspects highlighted in the website, it will be useful for them. In our case, we have one section of our website that is called Work at EVAPs, that shows the job offers and also the environment of the institute. Within this environment, it appears the Human Resources Strategy for Researcher. Then if you access to the job offers, we have been focusing on highlighting the link to access to open, transparent and merit-based recruitment policy that they could check. We have made the effort to give visibility to this document. And within each of the offers, we have been also including the logo, because then they can see it is an important issue for us, and we want to show it to the people who want to work with us. And then if you access to the section of the website dedicated to the strategy, you can find there the action plan, that it's really important because it's the information they want you to have available. Then we have our list of documents that are more historical documents, but if you want, you can check. And then there's a section that is more about achievements, what we have made. Maybe here there's the same information that they could find in the interim review, in the templates you have filled in. But as I have explained before, in the templates you have no chance to put images, to put links, to put information, additional information. And here you can put a link to another section of the website to show what you have really made, to show a poster that you did in that occasion that shows that you made that event. Is a really useful tool that the auditors use, because they told to us, and it's useful for them to check the evidences. What else is important? Is important the survey. For us, it was really interesting because we used the survey for several issues. For example, what we did when in our case we had 255 people who answered, and what we asked first of all is if the people were aware about the existence of the action plan. Half of them say more or less yes, but half of them said no. This means that we had to reinforce our communication strategy along the process, but it was also interesting that we gave at that stage more information about what we were doing, because if they didn't know and we were asked by an auditor, they could not give any answer. Then we use the survey because we include a section that presented 10 sentences, really brief, in which we explain the most relevant issues we have achieved in our human resources strategy for researchers. And they had the chance to say if they thought it was a poor action, a fair action, a good action, a very good action, or an excellent action. it was a way to have their opinion. We asked to them also to have an overall assessment, and when we did that, we obtained that the 73% of the people told us that it was good, very good, or excellent. Then they were happy with the results. We could continue as we had made in the past. And another part of the survey was about establishing the priorities within the 40 statements of the European Charter and Code. They had to choose in each of the sections some priorities, the aspects they thought they were more important to be addressed at the Institute. And thanks to that, we could have some information to work about the actions to be implemented. Another tool that it's complementary to the survey, it was the Human Resources Strategy for Researchers Working Group. For us, they were really, really nice and really helpful. They help us to design the survey, to see this survey would really engage the researchers, how we could ask the things without being so insisting, whatever. And the image, I think it can summarize the work they did. We received a lot of information from the survey, and then we had to obtain the key information. Thanks to what we saw in the survey, made that we could know which were the priorities we could establish, and then which specific actions we could do to address them. And now I will continue with these particularities or these problems or these changes of plans that we had in our renewal phase. Just to advise you that maybe also you think that you will submit the templates in that month, and that this means that maximum in September you will have the site visit. Could be like that or not. In our case, what happened is that we had, as I told you before, the site visit 1 year after we submitted the documentation. That it was really, we had to really be waiting for a long time. And it was difficult for us because maybe we had not all the information that we submitted really fresh. We have to remind what we have made in that moment. Then you receive, in our case, it was an online visit. Maybe you will be a face-to-face visit. But the fact is that you have the visit of 3 auditors. In this case, we had a chair, or an audit chair, the chair of the meeting, that decided to not following the rules that the European Commission has published in their guidelines, because we were expecting to have these 2 working groups with researchers, that is representative from predoctoral staff and postdoctoral staff in one side, and then representative of associated researchers and group leaders in another side. But then she told us that she agreed that these 2 groups were acceptable, but she would like to add more working groups to interview. And she introduced us all these other topics. That is, for example, one about research career and PhD policy. It was a problem for us because we don't have a PhD policy in place, and we didn't know what would be their opinion, because we don't have this implemented, and we have not explained in any step that we have made this through the Human Resources Strategy for Researchers. Then a group for diversity and inclusion, a group for dissemination and impact, open access and research data management, a group for open, transparent and merit-based recruitment, and a group for integrity in research. When we saw that, we were a little bit stressed because we didn't know very well how to manage that. And after thinking a little bit, we concluded that we need to have these 7 groups with not a lot of people, but several people, because some of the topics that were proposed were really open. And we didn't know exactly what they were going to ask. And we would like to have people ready to answer in one side or in another side. Then it resulted in having to invite 44 members of our research community. That it's a big group of people to be prepared in advance. Moreover, another problem that we had is that some of the topics that they introduced here in these groups are managed by someone from the coordination group, the direction, or maybe the head of the human resources department, or the head of research career department, or whatever, were part of took part in the direction meeting, in the opening meeting with the auditors. Then we were thought to also participate in these working groups, but as a representative, that someone that is really responsible for this topic. But we were told the same day that despite we have proposed that and it could be reasonable, the chair decided that we could not take part in these specific meetings, and they wanted only to speak to researchers. Then it was a day full of doubts. What would happen with these meetings that we had prepared with someone of us, and now we couldn't join the meeting and whatever. But the fact is that it was a good experience. People were really happy with the results, and the interviews with the researchers were really nice. And we are really happy to say that all this process resulted on that we were accepted as a general assessment. This means we had not to make any modification to the documentation we have submitted, neither minor modifications, neither major nor major revisions. Then we were really successful. And the truth is that all these kind of interviews with these different topics made that the auditors could give us a lot of feedback in different issues, really interesting for us. And it's true that as a result, they give you a very big report with a lot of information. Then we really learned from this feedback, because we found some aspects that were commented that could help us think how to improve in a bigger sense. And the fact is that we understood we were given green light to continue progressing to quality through the action plan. But thanks to this report, we have also identified some issues that we will also modify or try to implement, because we think it will be really useful for us and will give us added value to really improve. And now, just to finish, some conclusions. It's just to sum up what I have presented to you. In first instance, it's important to show your progress in a way that it's understandable and that the change could be really identified. Because without, as I told you before, without the context or without the starting point, this can be really difficult to be assessed. Another thing is the actions or tools used should be used to prove you accomplish all the key issues the strategy expects from you. Then it's important to think about how you use the survey or which things you can ask through this tool or whatever, because it's not only a mandatory step that you should do. You can use it to be a real supporting aspect for your progress. Then it's really important the participation and engagement of the direction, of course, and as well as the researchers. And it has to be really well seen. And of course, researchers will be the main part of the site visit. Then it's important to prepare them in advance and to be sure they have the information or the view that that you are interested to transfer to the auditors. And at last but not least, it's really interesting, really nice to make life of evaluators easy. If you find a way to facilitate their work, they will be really thankful to you. And this will make that they will be able to see the progress in an easier way. Then, despite in some occasions it could be a lot of work, maybe it's necessary to do an effort and invest it in this aspect, because this can really report you good results. And that's all. Thank you for your attention. And I am here at your disposal if you have any question. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Gemma. We shall now move to the questions time. I don't know if there's any question. I think there was one in the chat, but it was already answered by Javier. So we wait a bit. If there is any question, I'm going to have a look. There's somebody raising her hand. So I think that there are not additional questions. Hello? I think that there are not additional questions for the moment. So I think that we are going to finish right now. Thank you, everyone. We have used all the time that we had available, so we are now closing, but not before thanking all of you for your attention. And do not forget to complete the survey whose link you will receive in the chat. And also we will send to you in an email in the next hours, because it's really important for the evaluation of this seal. So thank you, everyone, and have a nice evening.